Yeah.
I am with Richard Woods. He's a catamaran designer, and we've been having a series of discussions about aspects of catamarans that you might not be familiar with. So right now we're talking about helm position and some of the unique attributes of where the helm positions can be on a catamaran, and also some of his thoughts about where the helm position ends up. So Richard, do you want to just sort of give me a little bit of background around this topic and why we're talking about helm position, what your thoughts are?
Well, people start by saying, oh, do you want two helms? Is it hydraulic steering or wire steering or cable, push-pull or whatever? But I think most boats and most designers seem to put their steering and the helm as a very much last resort and an afterthought. Oh, well, we'll do the saloon, we'll do the cockpit, we'll make a sun lounger here, whatever. Oh, well, we better put some wheels in somewhere, I suppose. Whereas, and the way what I always say is, when was the last time you drove a car with wooden seats? If you drive a car for 3 hours, that's considered quite a long drive, but it's only one watch. And in fact, many people will be 4 to 6 hours on deck steering, and on an amazing number of boats, you actually have to stand to steer, which is you do on a monohull a lot, but that's partly to brace yourself. But there's absolutely no excuse on a multi-hull not to have a really comfortable steering position, whether it's a tiller or a wheel. And so that's the first thing to consider is I'm going to be here for 3 hours, maybe from 2 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the morning in the pouring rain, sailing to windward. Do I want, is this going to be protected, for one thing? Is it going to be comfortable? And then the next thing to consider with the steering is, can I see all 4 corners from the helm? And that is really important when you're coming alongside and going into marinas and things. And it's the same with a car. You sit in the car on the steering wheel, supposing you could, the difference between driving a car where you can see out the back and an 18-wheeler, big HGV, as we say in England, where you could rely on your wing mirrors. So it's much, much easier to steer a car, drive a car in small quarters than even an RV or a camper van, never mind a big commercial vehicle. And that's the same in with a monohull and a multi-hull. And I think we've talked about this before, you've only got one point at the front on a monohull and you'll tend to be standing right behind it. So you can see where you're going. Right. And on a multi-hull, it might be 20 feet wide and you're on one corner. And there's a lot of multi-hulls built that the builders are saving money by putting just one wheel on in one corner. And so you're completely blind and you really have no idea what the other side gunwale is. But if you do only have one wheel, you should really have it on the starboard side because of the prop kick from the engines. Most people prefer coming in starboard side too because it's easier and getting it in and out, because reversing off if you're port side too is often quite difficult with a right hand propeller.
A lot of people might argue that helm position and comfort isn't as important these days because we're all using autopilots and using that method. Sit inside the cabin with your autopilot and just steer from inside. So what are your thoughts about that? Because I know I've been aboard boats where the helm position is such if you're not tall enough, you're not going to be able to see over the cabin, or they're trying to set you up so you're looking physically through the cabin, through all the windows, and it just seems fairly compromised. But the argument is you've got the autopilot.
Yeah, but again, not many people use their autopilots into their dock. even though the autopilot can in theory do so and steer you in. So yeah, I agree. If you're sailing offshore and you're on autopilot, you're going to probably sit below because it's, as we just said, you've got the all-round vision, and it's comfortable. But that's still, you just said, a compromise. The boat's still supposed to be a sailing boat, and it's got a wheel and or tillers, and you want to be able to enjoy the sailing when you want to. You don't want to be stuck inside.
So do you have
and then there's the other thing is that you really want to be near the middle of the boat, because as we discussed earlier, the motion, although the boat's flat, it's still bouncing around, and being near the middle is where the boat bounces least. So the nearer the ends, but also the higher you go, the worse the movement. And so you, by having a wheel behind the companionway door or the main cabin bulkhead, it's a good compromise, because it's low down, it's near the least movement area, and it's also near the people who are sitting below or off watch, and you can call other people easily. Whereas when you're, because a lot of boats now have this upper helm position, and that's always quite scary, thinking, am I going to be getting up here when it's dark and rough? And if I am up there and I want a hand, can someone come hear me shouting at them? In fact, years ago on one particular boat we had a door chime alarm, and we could, by the helm, so we could press a button and the buzzer would go in the bunk and wake the crew up.
That's a good idea, because I was going to ask you how you feel about the bridge deck position, because while I can understand the visibility up there and the comfort up there might be really good, it is how do you let the crew know that you need them, that you've seen something? But the door chime is a great idea.
Yeah, the other thing about having it up there, everything else has moved up, so the boom spring moved up. And the center of gravity has gone up, and it's all going in the wrong direction. And although that's off topic, I always worry about putting in reef lines and having them tangle up, and can I reach the end of the boom safely? And one of the other things just on that is putting a sail cover on. I know everyone uses the stack packs these days, but an awful lot of people never set them up because they can't really reach the boom to do so.
Yes, I've been hearing that a lot. We either need to redesign how sail covers do up, or rethink having booms that can't be reached, because it's definitely an issue. Well, thank you.
We could discuss that another time, but very quickly, what we've used is Velcro on the top instead of a zip, because with Velcro, you can touch it. Wherever it touches, it touches. With a zip, you've always got to start on it.
Yeah, no, that makes a good point. Yeah. All right. So, well, thank you for discussing helm position with me, and we will move on to the next one.